So next we were going to talk to the team Playback, Ward 8 residents. John Johnson, Jason Anderson, Tamika Love Jones represent Team Playback. Playback. Okay, John is a 3-time Artist Fellow with the District of Columbia Commission of the Arts and is engaged in oral history project called Anacostia Unmapped. Jason is a professional artist and music curator and has worked as an educator and coach in DC public high schools for 17 years. Tamika is a singer-songwriter, activist who runs an after-school program called Global Kids at Ballou High School. Please welcome John Johnson, Jason Anderson, and Tamika Love Jones. I'm going to miss somebody too. There's more fewer names and people up here, but anyway.
It's all good. It's all good. Hello, everyone. We just about to get it popping. We're not gonna do a lot of talking. We're gonna get it popping. I just want to say a couple things. So we are, everyone up here lives in Ward 8. We have children in Ward 8. We are direct stakeholders, and we want to see these health outcomes change at the end of the day. So we're thoroughly invested because we breathe the air here, we eat the food here, and we want to see a different change. Now, we also are a group of artists, and every artist is trying to figure out how to engage their community. So when we teamed up with Sibley, we saw all these health disparities, and we're like, oh, well, we can address the health disparities. And we're about to show you how. So one of the things we do is, can you click the next slide? So our theory is that the human story is unique like human DNA. So when we talk to our community and someone's saying, we suffer from high blood pressure and diabetes, I'm like, well, what is your day like? Well, I go to the Good Hope Road Carryout. You guys know the Good Hope Road Carryout? Give me 5 chicken wings and some fries and an iced tea. I get with some mumbo sauce. And so then those statistics are actually tied into a story. And then we can use that story so people can look at themselves like in a mirror. Okay, so our theory is one, the human story is like human DNA. It tells you everything that you're doing. And then we decide to turn the microphones over to the people. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So this group of people up here are like a blank canvas. And I'm going to ask you guys some questions. You answer those questions, and we're going to use our big idea, which is playback, to play those ideas back. It may sound a little weird and wonky right now, but you'll get it in a second. So my question to you is, why is health important? Just somebody just raise their hand and answer that question. Why is our health important?
Better life.
So, come on,
well, health is important because, who wants to live a lousy life? You want to live a happy life, a healthy life.
Okay, so when you say a healthy, happy life, what does a healthy, happy life mean? What can you do when you have a healthy, happy life?
Well, you can walk in the streets, enjoy the city. You can ride a bike. Okay. You can do a number of things with your friends, and you're not hindered because of drawbacks, because your legs hurt or your back hurts or whatever.
Okay. So our actors now, we're listening to you. You guys are stand-up actors. And what's your name?
I'm Sam Ford.
So we're going to all say on the count of 3, Sam Ford, let's watch, and we're going to see the actors play back Sam's ideal understanding of what a healthy life is. So 1, 2, 3, Sam Ford, let's watch.
Wait for me, man. Wait for me, man. Hey, hold on. I want to dance too. Hold on. Can I dance?
Cause I'm happy. That happiness is you.
So we tried that. So anybody else have any other reasons why it's important that we're healthy people? Like, why is it important?
For our children. So we can.
Hold on, one second.
It's important for our children. We want to, first of all, be around for our children, but secondly, be examples for our children. so healthy lifestyles for our children.
Okay. And it's in order to see your children do what, though? So we want to be examples for our children. What do you hope to see your children do?
I want to see them not have some of these diseases and disorders and ailments that we face in our community. So I like them to be able to live free of mess, for lack of a better term.
Okay, so to live a happy lifestyle, to be free of mess. All right, and what's your name? Morris. Okay, so Morris. On the count of three, we're going to say Morris, let's watch. 1, 2, 3, Morris, let's watch.
I love broccoli. Say it with me. I love broccoli. I love broccoli. Say it with me. Say it. I love broccoli. Say it. Say it. I love broccoli. Oh, Jesus.
So you guys are getting the idea now, right? Okay. So does anyone have a story of how they overcame some health challenge in the city? How you may have had an illness and you maybe changed some lifestyle. I mean, you tell people now, like, oh, I lost these 10 pounds because, girl, I started walking every day. Or, what? Anybody have a story of how they may have had a health challenge that they want to share?
So I have PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And the way that manifests is it operates very similarly to like you have diabetes, right? So makes it very hard for you to regulate your blood sugar. You get tired very quickly. Your weight fluctuates, retain water, things like that. Basically, for me, if like this is like what your uterus looks like. For me, mine looks like this. And then I have like thousands of cysts that exist inside of my ovaries. And so over the course of, I don't know how many years, I was diagnosed first with insulinoma, which is a tumor in your pancreas. Then I was diagnosed as extreme hypoglycemic. I was diagnosed with a bunch of really random things that were not actually ever right. And when they finally figured out what it was because I got pregnant with my son, and the hormones from him were causing the cysts to grow at the rate of the baby growing, which was like extremely painful and really scary and terrible. And I'll probably never do it again. I won't ever do it again. But I ended up going to, it wasn't Sibley. I didn't actually know about Sibley at the time, but it was Holy Cross. And they did all these tests and things and found out that what it was. And then I ended up at the Family Health and Birthing Center, which is that where it's at? Anyway, it's over on Spinning Road. And they assigned me an herbalist who gave me like this full health plan that was all about like how to use different herbs, making my own teas, even creating like outer body salves that would help when I was like in extreme pain. And things like that. And then and so now like after, God, I think the first time I experienced anything with it, like I was living in New York and I passed out on my way to work on like 31st and Lexington. It was like something crazy like that. And I think that was like 12 years ago. So since then, like now, like the last time I went to the hospital or to not to the hospital, but just for a checkup, like because of the herbs and the way that the herbs are used and the way that I've been using the herbs and things like that, and the consistency of it, like you can almost not even see any of the cysts on my like ultrasound. I mean, my uterus is still like barely existent, but like as far as like the ability to like lose weight if I wanted to. Not a thing right now. If it's not an issue, I'm not as tired as often. I'm able to, I'm not like passing out because of low blood sugar. Like I haven't had any of those symptoms since, and he's about to be 4 April 30th. So I would say in the last almost 3 years because of the health care that I received once they figured out what was wrong with me.
Thank you. So we're going to see. Thank you for sharing that story. And we're going to see your story played back in a 3-part story. And tell us your name.
Miriam.
So on the count of 3, we're going to say, Miriam, let's watch. 1, 2, 3.
Miriam, let's watch.
I'm sorry, hold on. Doctor, you said I got what? Diabetes? No, hold on. Check that again. I don't think that's right. Okay, you said I got PCOS. I got this pain deep inside, right in there, and I'm pregnant. You gonna help me out or what?
Yes, I heard you. Yeah, okay, so basil, paprika. You show this for a tea? You know, I'm in pain. Okay, what else? Okay, cauliflower, broccoli. This don't sound like a tea. Oh, you sure? For my uterus and my, okay, I'm gonna try. Okay, let me pour this in. Okay, cayenne pepper. Okay, I'm gonna try it. But I don't know, I'm not sure how it's gonna go, but I'm gonna try it. I got to get better. Okay, I'm gonna call you back.
Flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Hey, baby. Yes, let's go play. Focus on being a mom now. So glad I got the help I needed.
Okay. So you all got an example of what playback theater is. Step over to the side real quick and we can get through this presentation real quick. So the human story is unique like human DNA. It influences everything we do. Once we build a safe space and trust, then we can have real conversations and we can talk about what's going on and then we understand how to resolve problems. You can click the next slide. This is the playback team. We teamed up with Sibley. We took our art and merged our art with these challenging disparities in Ward 7 and Ward 8. You know, the biggest thing that stood out to us is that folks in Ward 7 and Ward 8 live 9 times. The life expectancy is 9 times below everyone else. That's 9 years, and that's not talking about chronic illnesses or anything. So, you know, we lose 9 years of our lives, you know. So we were very determined to try to come up with, use our art as our superpower. You can click the next slide. So we went to the community and we listened. We had, we hosted potluck dinners with community members. We went to local schools and we created a questionnaire so we can continue to modify our art form to serve the community. You can click the next slide. And so this is what we heard. We heard that Ward 7 and Ward 8 have the highest health disparities in the district. We live 9 years less than everybody else. And this was due to the lack of trust of the healthcare industry, which creates a divide and which makes the community feel isolated in their problems and it prevents healing. So, you know, if you ask most people about United Medical Center, they have an issue with United Medical Center. When they closed down the birth and delivery center, it made a community that is heavily gentrified feel like we aren't wanted because we have the highest youth population in the city. So if you talk to the executives, they have reasons, and again, you could talk about the data why they closed it. But to someone outside of the community, that means that you don't like us. We're not wanted, you know? And no one wants to go. Or they hear a horrible story, no one wants to go. You click the next slide. So our big idea, what you guys saw an example of, is Playback Theater. It's an interactive and an innovative approach to healthcare that creates a safe space. It makes people feel validated. Thank you, Marion, for sharing your story. That is a very intimate story to share in front of a whole bunch of people. And we can talk about our health challenges and the successes. She talked about, you know, having a challenge and actually being healed using herbs, you know. And we can create a better bond in our community. You can click the next slide. So this is one of our playbacks in action. Now, you guys, we only have 25 minutes for a presentation, but playback usually takes anywhere between 60 minutes and 90 minutes because we have to create a safe environment. There's no way to kind of get a lot of good information out and for us to share in a small period of time. So that's why we only showed you a sample. And so this is Mom's Night Out. This is in Ward 7, where we had all moms sit in the room. They had a child care provider to take their kids out of the room. And we talked about reproductive health. So, you know, we asked the moms, like, well, you know, you all the moms, that means you gave birth to children or their grandmoms. Like, when did you learn about sex? Which is a tough question. You got this young guy standing there, I'm like, what am I gonna tell this boy my business? I'm not gonna tell him. You know, it took a little while to get the room warmed up, and then one lady raised her hand, and she was like, well, I was 12 years old, and I saw the dogs in the community. I knew one was a boy, one was a girl, and they were stuck together. And I was like, Mommy, what's that? And of course, we played that back. Everybody laughed. And then we had more of a deeper, intimate conversation where we addressed real issues, some being traumatic and some being just the challenges of explaining sex to your teenage daughter or your teenage son. Cool. Next slide. Oh, so this is what we did. So again, playback takes anywhere between 60 and 90 minutes in order to create that safe space, in order to really elicit a deep understanding and have a real conversation. Some of the things that came out in our community are two things. Two things kind of rose to the top. There was a myriad of health challenges, but mental health is something that everyone wants to talk about, because particularly African Americans, there's some stigmas to going down and sitting and talking to a therapist or something like that, as well as reproductive health. How do we talk about sex in our community? How do we talk about the relationships between men and women in our community? Those are two things the community says, this will be a good platform in order to address those concerns. So we also had community healthcare providers in the room, and they had mixed opinions. Sometimes they were like, it was just good for them to sit in the room, particularly if they're community members who aren't from the community and they come externally to serve a community. There is a lack of cultural competence. And so for them to sit and hear these women be candid, it informs them of how they may be able to treat their patients better, because then they know what the community really feels like instead of being isolated in a room with a physician and having to gain that trust. And so we've hosted playback shows and engaged 150 community members. We've also been in the schools, and we've trained people on the basic principles of playback to just ensure our mastery of the art form. So those are the things that we've done. Oh, so is there any other story that anyone wants to tell and have the opportunity to feel validated when you think about health, or a success story about health? Anybody else want to share with us, since we got a couple more minutes?
Sure. Similar to the young lady with Taste and Talk, I was diagnosed with lupus, as well as another autoimmune disorder called pemphigus, and that's a dermatological disorder. And in the hospital several months in a row. I was in the hospital for 2 months in a row, ICU for a month. But jumping to the success. So I'm on all these different drugs, steroid being the primary drug that I'm on, prednisone. And with that comes a lot of side effects and potential side effects, and other issues can derive from that. So I've taken advantage of literature on the internet and reading and speaking with doctors and pharmacists and really kind of digging into different things. But a plant-based diet is what I've decided to go with. My physicians never really led me on that path until I found a holistic doctor. But with that, one thing that transpired as a result of taking the prednisone was I was diagnosed as pre-diabetic. And it was, now I have a sweet tooth, so I know that's part of the fault. But at the same time, the drugs just intensified it. And so I had all these other drugs that I was taking for the other disorders. So I was like, I don't want to take another drug. And so they put me on losartan, something like that. And every time I went to that doctor, all he would say is, how you doing? Here, take this prescription. So one day I went in and I said, well, doc, can you tell me what I can do to get off of this drug? I already take too many drugs. And I'm just thinking, a standard answer from anybody here probably would have been exercise and diet. He didn't even say that. He said, there's nothing you can do, take this drug. And so that was the last time I saw that doctor. But long story short, I did start the plant-based diet, and I'm completely off the losartan and have no need for it. Whenever I check my blood is perfect. You know, it's accurate.
So what's your name? Morris. On the count of three, with a three-part story, we're gonna say Morris, let's watch. 1, 2, 3, Morris.
Let's watch.
May blur vision. May produce projectile vomiting. I don't want that.
Junior, come in here, help me with this computer. Yeah, I'm looking up this, what you call it, plant-based? What I gotta eat plants? I got a garden. Hold on, press this, go to this link. Okay, all right. Okay, oh, okay, so it's not plants, they talking about fruits. I like fruits, I can do fruits. Yeah, he showed, yeah, I did, I just came from the doctor. He just tried to give me another mess. That's why I'm on here now. Can you help me? Please press the button. Oh yeah. Okay, plant-based diet. Oh, they got menus here. Okay, we getting somewhere now.
Tell me there's nothing I can do? I don't believe that. I don't believe that I'm powerful, that I can't change my situation around. Food is wealth. Let your food be your medicine. No etc. Strictly herbs coming from the ground. Because I got melanin. And look at my skin. I can heal myself. Let your food be your medicine. Food. That's your medicine.
So there's a couple things I want to say. We can get back to the slide. So as many of you know, there's $300 million for a new hospital in Ward 8. And so just from the stories we heard today, holistic health should probably be a part of that plan. You're hearing it from the people, those people who are involved in healthcare need to write that down. So that's what happens when you allow people to share their stories from the community. So what we've learned Playback can serve as an innovative approach and outreach. Is very, entertaining. And we can deal with mental health as well as reproductive health. It provides a therapeutic release, and it validates the community. It helps people not feel isolated and connected. Folks are going to come up and ask what herbs you've been taking, what food you've been eating, and then you create community. And we can direct community to health-related resources, and it builds a bridge. If we have physicians or other folks in the room, there'll be conversations and actually connecting people. Go to the next one, next slide. So what's next? We want to establish a Playback pop-up troupe and go into schools and institutions and change the narrative of the way we talk about our health. We want to learn new Playback forms to strengthen our Playback team and refine our process by partnering with mental health professionals as well as reproductive health care professionals. Next slide. Yeah, so this is basically it. So we want to create partnerships with institutions, specifically in Ward 7 and Ward 8, because we have the highest youth population, and it's better to start with them and change that narrative. To create partnerships with the healthcare professionals, I mentioned that. Of course, have funding, and to create a culture of talking about our health. So these things, whether it's Miriam's story or the young man's story right here, become common conversations that we can have so we can heal ourselves by having those open conversations with people we trust. So again, I just want to introduce myself. Everyone else, I want them to introduce themselves. So my name is John Johnson.
Hey, I'm Jose Rufino.
Jason Anderson. Tamika Love Jones. Asali Ruth.
And we're Team Playback. Thank you.